Canadian experience, that phrase you would hear a ton of times, either if you're a newcomer to Canada or you're an immigrant professional who is looking forward. So in this video, if you've come across Canadian experience as an excuse to why you haven't gotten a job, we're going to be tackling how to overcome that barrier to your own career success. What's up my people? If you're new, my name is Janey aka Janey of Canada, and I make videos about life as an immigrant in Canada. If that sounds like something you're interested in, please subscribe. It helps me actually make sure more of this information gets to the people who need it. Thank you. And so without further ado, let's talk about this. When I finished schooling here in Canada and will be looking for work in internships or actually entry-level work, I was always met with you're overqualified or you don't have Canadian experience. What does that even mean? So Canadian experience is a phrase that immigrant professionals will be very used to, but employees, or rather employers, use to really just mean, or it's code for you don't have interpersonal skills, or it is showing their own bias towards you. And if it's the latter, there's not much control you have around that. Truth is, microaggressions, racism, systemic bias all exist in Canada. Newsflash. However, if it's the former, where it's more interpersonal skills, I will teach you how to actually conquer that in this video. First things you have to know legally is that if you've been met with the barrier of Canadian experience, legally employers don't have any liabilities or any onus to really tell you what the real issue is, because they can get in trouble. And so sometimes a lot of employers will lump the Canadian experience excuse under the reason why you were not hired or not chosen to go forward. Today, as a hiring manager, I can almost always tell when someone is a newcomer from their resumes and the way they interview. And that is not a pro or a con, but you want to make sure that you have assimilated yourself into culture where it's not so easy for them to tell except by what the location of where you have worked in the past. But obviously, there is a case for Canadian experience in regulated fields like medicine, engineering, law, like the legal work or legal industry. It makes sense why you need to have Canadian experience, in the sense that if you don't understand the market, if you don't understand the laws of the land, you can't just transfer the knowledge you already have. So those professions are licensed and regulated by bodies to make sure that you understand the Canadian ecosystem to start working in those fields. Other fields, sometimes like sales and marketing, require somewhat of a Canadian experience, because how are you going to sell and market products in the Canadian market if you do not understand the market? But I'll teach you ways that, so if you're thinking, okay, so if I have sales and marketing experience from back home, how am I supposed to get a sales and marketing job? I will explain how you can do that towards the end of the video. But there is a case for Canadian experience in those regulated professions where it obviously requires you to have an understanding and knowledge of the Canadian ecosystem. You may be thinking as a potential employee and employee, but I have the adequate skills needed for ABC job. The truth is, your adequate skills are not enough. And the reason behind that is, think about it that way. With every job posting that comes out, there is at least 200 to thousands of people who apply for the job, a lot of which just honestly have the adequate skills. So it's not about having adequate skills, it's more about having that demonstration of the skills and the ability to actually showcase that not only do you have the skills, you can excel and you have showcased achievements having those skills. Let me bring that down to earth. Think about a project manager. Every project manager would have managed budget, time, scope, and other resources. And so if your resume, for instance, reads manage the budget and a team to execute XYZ project, everyone else has done that. But the real question that a lot of people who are newcomers don't think about is the situational side questions, the so what's in the resume. So what that you manage budget, so what that you manage the team, how many people, like quantify that, what is the achievement, what did that do? That a lot of time is what differentiates folks who have that experience from those who do not. So a way to do that really quickly is, in your resume, you want to make sure that every point is answering so what. You want to make sure you quantify as much as possible in your resume, meaning if there's a place where you can put numbers, put them there. It takes the average recruiter about 6 to 7 seconds to scan resumes because there's a ton of people who are actually applying to these roles. Make the recruiter's life easy. Tell them that this skill set you have around scheduling, about budget management, has either saved the company time, money, increased efficiency, or things of that sort. Answer the so what for them so that they don't have to deduce or choose another candidate who has answered that for them. An example would be, I manage $3 million. And for instance, say you manage this money in dirhams, or you manage it in rupees, or you manage it in naira, make the conversion. Or it's equivalent in your resume because you're applying to Canadian workplaces and say, manage a budget of $200,000, working and leading a team of 5 people to execute a project in record time of 3 months as opposed to the stipulated 6 months. This project led to the success of this, and us getting a deal or a partnership with XYZ organization. Or if the organization is definitely not one that's world renowned, you can say with a leading financial institution, things of that sort, that brings it down to earth for the recruiter or the hiring manager who is reading that resume. The truth is, people do not hire for the hard skills. As much as we like to think we hire for the hard skills, everyone a lot of times who are applying usually have that bare minimum, the bachelor's degree, the certification, or they have acquired the skills in some type of coding bootcamp. What we're looking for more so, as like I said, is the demonstration of those skills, but also the interpersonal skills, which a lot of people will call soft skills. The biggest one definitely is communication. In Canada, you want to be able to not only speak and write properly in English and or French, you want to be able to understand or show an understanding of industry speak. So what are the type of phrases and words that are used in your industry? Do you know? A good way to do that is make sure you have coffee chats or informational interviews with people in similar roles or similar departments that you are looking to get into way before you are in the interview or application stage. I know everyone wants to come in and just start to shoot and apply for jobs. That's not the best way to do it. You want to sit down and map out a career strategy. And these are the things we actually help with in Immigrant. Immigrant is a network platform of immigrant professionals where you can actually learn from each other, do informational interviews, but also learn these career readiness skills that I'm talking to you about. So you don't have to do it on your own. We will actually support you. The link is immigrant.com. We're definitely welcoming you to the network today if you're looking to take your skills to the next level. Bringing it back, after doing your resume, yes, it's good to quantify in your resume. The next step is in the interview. Have you prepped for situational type interviews? The first thing you need to know about the Canadian place is leadership looks differently. A lot of us come from cultures where we don't challenge leadership, we don't ask questions, we just do what we're told by our bosses. That's not always the case here. Here in Canada, people want to understand your thought process. How did you come to that? Another thing about culture too that may be holding you back from, putting that Canadian experience forward or putting that Canadian understanding forward is that you're thinking that they're going to ask me all the questions they want to get from me. You don't take the initiative to demonstrate your skill set. Another part too is you want to be humble, or you don't want to come across as proud or bragging. My work will speak for me. I can't tell you how many times I hear immigrants say that. Your work does not have lips. One more time, your work does not have lips. You have to speak for your work, brag about what you've done, big up yourself, because no one else will do it for you. Not your boss, not your mentor, not your referee, nobody but you. So the difference then is now I understand. You have to go from my resume and my work speaking for me and my boss telling his boss about how great I am to advocating for yourself. We can support you with getting that confidence, but most importantly, you have to know that. You also have to prep for how to answer situational interviews. For instance, the boss will ask you things, or the hiring manager, recruiter will ask you things like, how have you demonstrated a time when you XYZ, disagreed with a boss, had a fallout with a client, had a misunderstanding with a colleague? You need to prep your stories and use SAR, which stands for situation, action, result, or STAR, or CAR. These are acronyms that help you tell your story in a succinct, concise, and compelling way when you're interviewing. I know, so much information. I'm going to keep this short just so that you can actually get to it. Lastly, all of this, no one actually wakes up or comes out of the womb confident. You have to practice, immerse yourself in places where you feel comfortable to start and practice the skills, and that's what Immunication is here to do for you. But another way you can definitely do it, you know, speaking about Canadian experience, like I said at the start of this video, is make sure you're volunteering in not-for-profit organizations, volunteering in religious organizations. There's a lot of new businesses and startups like mine who are coming up now here and there that need support but can't afford to fight in the global race for talent or pay that amount. That is where you come in. The leader who owns this organization can teach you a lot about Canadian experience and Canadian understanding, and you in turn can gain Canadian experience working or volunteering with this organization. Are you liking this video so far? Where's my thumbs up? If you are, please make sure to subscribe and join the family, because these are the type of energy and conversations we have over here. Next thing you also want to do is, with volunteering, it helps you understand and develop an understanding of the Canadian workplace as well as your industry. When I initially started in advertising media, I had a map I downloaded from the internet that had the different organizations in the field, the parent and holding companies of these organizations, and where they are all located. If you're in the financial industry, do you know all the banks? Do you know the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 banks? Because these are the type of conversations or examples that you can leverage in your conversations or in the interviews to showcase to that recruiter or hiring manager that you have the Canadian understanding. Lastly, if English or French is not your first language, take learning. The Canadian government has free classes that you can take to improve your language. Immerse yourself in culture, join community groups, some meetups, just so you can continue to practice the language. And don't worry about your nerves. Try to speak slow and people will understand you. If you have an accent, just know that everyone has an accent. That's the thing about accents. And even though yours is the minority, it doesn't make you any less different. Lastly, meet people who can help you find work and even put reference for you. Obviously, I mentioned Immunication. That's a place where you can meet like-minded, career-minded immigrants. But there's also volunteer.ca, where you can go find places where you can volunteer as a newcomer to Canada. Lastly, in all of this, I want you to say that you need to know your rights as a newcomer to Canada. Employees have rights. Contrary to some cultures where we're from or where you're from, if you feel like you're being discriminated against by an employer or potential employer, you should contact your Ministry of Labor. Every province has one, or Service Canada. There was a time, really truly, and the truth is, forgive yourself for mistakes you don't know. There was a time, really truly, where an employer tried to reduce my pay by $15,000. I was devastated. I was shocked. I cried. I almost cried. I didn't cry because I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I was like, hold on, I need to check with people who have been here longer if this is normal. If you think for a second that anything is not normal, check with people who have been here. So I Googled, I found the Ministry of Labor, I called them, they said it wasn't normal. I also checked with a friend at the time who was an HR consultant, said it wasn't normal as well. So that gave me ammunition to be able to fight back and say, you cannot do this. So don't forget to always check what your rights are. And if you're not sure, we have a group in the Immunication Network for folks who are either hiring or looking to be hired, where you can come and ask questions around if this is normal. It's a safe space and we're all about immigrant advancement. And that is it for this video. I hope you've been able to understand that in navigating Canadian experience, a lot of times is you honing your interpersonal skills like communication, initiative, leadership, analytical skills. It's also being confident and bold to practice and actually demonstrate those skills in a situational setting, but also in a quantifiable, compelling, precise manner, both in your resume, but also in interviews. This is just the tip of the iceberg. If you're interested in more career readiness conversations, join us at Immunication. Subscribe to the channel for more. If you found this video helpful, like it. If you love it, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Have a blessed week.